Night presses tightly against the walls of Vienna, as if the darkness itself has chosen a side. Torches flicker along battered ramparts, illuminating faces hollowed by hunger and sleeplessness. Below, the vast Ottoman camp stretches into the distance, a sea of tents and banners whispering with confidence, prayer, and the certainty of conquest. Drums pulse softly, like a heartbeat too large to silence. The city, once a proud gateway between worlds, now feels like the last breath of a civilization cornered by history. Inside the walls, the air smells of smoke, sweat, and fear carefully hidden behind routine. Civilians pray in cellars. Soldiers mend shattered defenses with splintered wood and raw hands. Priests move quietly among them, offering absolution more often than comfort. Everyone knows what Vienna represents. If it falls, the road into the heart of Europe lies open. Churches, monasteries, and ancient cities stand exposed beyond these walls, their future hanging on endurance measured in hours, not years. Above it all, the great dome of St. Stephen's Cathedral looms like a silent witness. Its bells no longer ring. The sound would draw fire. Yet its presence steadies the city, a reminder that Vienna is more than stone and strategy. It is a symbol, a threshold between worlds, where faith and force have collided before and will collide again tonight. Far from the walls, the Ottoman Grand Vizier Kara Mustafa surveys the siege with satisfaction. His army is immense, disciplined, and confident, drawn from an empire that has expanded steadily for generations. He believes Vienna is already his. Time, hunger, and fear are his allies. He imagines prayers silenced, banners replaced, the city folded into a destiny he considers inevitable. Yet beyond the hills, unseen and barely hoped for, another force moves. Across forests and valleys, Christian armies converge in fragile unity, bound by urgency rather than certainty. At their head rides a king who understands the weight of this moment not as glory, but as obligation. The night deepens. Vienna waits. And history, poised between despair and deliverance, holds its breath. The siege tightens like a noose drawn slowly, deliberately. Day after day, Ottoman engineers dig tunnels beneath Vienna's walls, their picks striking earth in rhythmic persistence. Each blow echoes above as dread. Defenders listen with ears pressed to the ground, counting seconds between impacts, knowing that at any moment the earth itself may betray them. Explosions follow, controlled, devastating, sending stone and bodies into the air. Each breach is sealed with whatever can be found: rubble, furniture, even the bodies of the fallen. Survival becomes improvisation sanctified by necessity. Food dwindles. Bread is rationed into thin, almost symbolic portions. Horses are slaughtered, then dogs, then anything that breathes. Yet morale does not fully collapse. Something stubborn resists despair. Perhaps it is memory Vienna has stood before. Perhaps it is faith, stripped now of ornament, reduced to trust alone. In churches turned into shelters, the rosary passes from hand to hand. No speeches are made. The repetition itself becomes strength. Outside the walls, Kara Mustafa grows impatient. He desires Vienna intact, a jewel for the empire, not a ruin. His restraint prolongs the siege, buying time he believes favors him. The crescent banners flutter confidently in the late summer air. Prayers rise from the Ottoman camp as well, disciplined and sincere, revealing a conflict not merely of arms, but of worldviews convinced of divine favor. Inside the city, Count Ernst Rudiger von Starhemberg commands the defense with grim resolve. He is wounded, exhausted, yet relentless. Orders are given calmly, even as casualties mount. He understands that Vienna's purpose is not to win, but to endure, to hold long enough for something beyond calculation to arrive. Whispers circulate among the defenders. Relief forces are coming, they say, from Poland, from Bavaria, from lands divided by politics but united by fear. No one knows when, or if, they will arrive in time. Hope becomes dangerous, yet impossible to extinguish. Each dawn is greeted with equal parts gratitude and dread. As summer wanes, the city's condition worsens. Disease spreads. Children cry softly, conserving energy. Still the walls hold. And beyond the hills, unseen campfires multiply. History inches forward, pulled by forces neither side fully controls. The first signs reach Vienna not by sight, but by sound, a distant murmur carried by wind across hills and forests. Cannon fire, faint yet unmistakable, rolling like thunder where no storm gathers. The defenders pause, listening, scarcely daring to believe. Outside the city, Kara Mustafa hears it too. His confidence flickers, replaced by calculation. The relief army is real, and it is close. Across the wooded heights of the Kahlenberg, Christian forces assemble with quiet urgency. Poles, Austrians, Bavarians, Saxons, men who rarely fight side by side now share bread and glances heavy with awareness. Above them all stands King Jan III Sobieski of Poland, seasoned, deliberate, his presence steady rather than flamboyant. He understands the terrain, the stakes, and the fragility of unity. This is not a crusade of glory. It is an intervention against catastrophe. On the morning of September 12, 1683, before steel is drawn, Sobieski kneels. A mass is celebrated on the hillside, the Eucharist lifted against a pale sky. Soldiers watch in silence. Some remove helmets. Others clutch medals hidden beneath armor. The moment is brief, reverent, unforced. It does not promise victory. It asks for fidelity. As the Christian army advances downhill through forests and fields, the Ottomans scramble to reposition. Their siege lines, optimized for pressure from one direction, strain under sudden reversal. The battle unfolds unevenly, chaotic and vast. Infantry clashes first, muskets cracking, pikes shuddering on impact. The ground becomes churned mud and blood. Smoke obscures vision, reducing decisions to instinct and discipline. Vienna's defenders, hearing the roar grow louder, launched desperate sorties from the city, striking Ottoman positions from behind. For the first time in weeks, the besiegers are pressed from two sides. The sense of inevitability fractures. Kara Mustafa commits reserves, confident still that his superior numbers will prevail. The day stretches on, heat and exhaustion grinding down resolve. Victory remains uncertain. Unity strains. Yet something irreversible has begun. The siege is no longer a slow strangulation. It is a reckoning, and it is accelerating. As the battle intensifies, clarity dissolves into struggle measured yard by yard. The Christian infantry presses forward, paying dearly for every step. Coordination falters in the noise. Commands are shouted, misunderstood, lost. Men fight not for banners or strategies now, but for the ground beneath their feet and the breath in their lungs. The Ottomans resist fiercely, their formations disciplined, their faith no less sincere. This is no collapse. It is collision. Jan Sobieski watches patiently, waiting. He knows his moment has not yet come. High above the battlefield, the Polish cavalry, winged hussars, stand poised, their lances upright, armor gleaming. They are magnificent and terrifying, but they are not symbols. They are instruments, and instruments must be used precisely. Sobieski restrains them as casualties mount below, understanding that premature glory would mean disaster. Inside Vienna, bells begin to ring again, not in celebration but urgency. The defenders push outward with renewed ferocity, fueled by the sound of battle drawing closer. Civilians emerge cautiously, bringing water, tending wounded, whispering prayers with faces streaked by ash and tears. The city, once passive, becomes participant in its own deliverance. Kara Mustafa grows increasingly agitated. Reports contradict one another. Lines bend, then hold, then bend again. His confidence, rooted in inevitability, struggles against the reality of resistance that refuses to break. Still, he believes he can contain the assault, then resume the siege. Pride and caution wrestle within him, and neither yields. The afternoon sun begins to lower, casting long shadows across the field. Fatigue dulls reflexes. Horses stumble. Muskets misfire. It is now or never. Sobieski senses it, the fragile convergence of timing, terrain, and human will. He gives the order. From the heights, the hussars descend. The earth seems to tremble as thousands of armored horsemen surge forward, lances angled, wings rising behind them with a sound like rushing wind. It is not spectacle, it is force given form. The Ottomans turn to meet them, stunned by the sudden mass and momentum. The battlefield tightens toward a single, decisive movement. History leans forward, breath held. The Polish hussars crash into Ottoman lines like a living tide, their momentum irresistible, their discipline absolute. Lances shatter on impact, swords follow, and formations buckle under the weight of speed and shock. The sound is deafening. Metal, hooves, voices collapsing into one relentless roar. What strategy could not achieve, force married to timing now accomplishes. Ottoman resistance fractures rapidly. Units attempt to regroup, but the charge continues, wave after wave, driving deep into the heart of the camp. Panic spreads, contagious and irreversible. Tents collapse. Supplies are abandoned. Standards fall. Kara Mustafa's command structure disintegrates under the sudden reversal of fortune. What had seemed an unassailable siege becomes a retreat struggling to avoid annihilation. From Vienna's walls, defenders watch in disbelief as the impossible unfolds. Some weep openly. Others fall to their knees where they stand, overwhelmed not by triumph, but by relief. The city is saved not by its own strength, but by endurance long enough to be met by sacrifice. As dusk approaches, the battlefield quiets unevenly. Scattered fighting continues, but the outcome is sealed. Sobieski rides through the captured camp, surveying the scale of what has been averted. He finds Kara Mustafa's tent, lavish and intact, a symbol of ambition undone. There is no celebration in his face, only gravity. He knows how narrow the margin was. The siege of Vienna is over. Christian Europe breathes again. But the cost is visible everywhere. Bodies carpet the field. Smoke lingers. The ground is consecrated by blood from both sides. Victory does not erase suffering. It gives it meaning only through remembrance. As night falls, fires are lit not for war, but for warmth. The great confrontation ends not with cheers, but with exhausted silence, broken only by prayers whispered into cooling air. History has turned, and those who witnessed it know they have stood at a threshold few generations are granted to see. In the days that follow, the magnitude of what occurred slowly becomes clear. The Ottoman army retreats in disarray, its aura of invincibility shattered. Vienna, battered but unbroken, emerges as more than a city preserved. It becomes a symbol reclaimed. Across Europe, news spreads with astonishment. Bells ring not in triumphal excess, but in gratitude weighted by awareness of what nearly was. Jan Sobieski writes to the Pope with humility, attributing victory not to his command, but to divine mercy. He enters Vienna not as conqueror, but as protector, attending Mass in St. Stephen's Cathedral amid ruins and candlelight. The liturgy feels different now, more urgent, more fragile, more real. The words of thanksgiving carry the memory of fear still fresh. The political consequences unfold gradually. The Ottoman advance into Central Europe is halted, then reversed. Alliances solidify. Confidence returns cautiously. Yet no one imagines this is the end of conflict. It is a reprieve, earned at great cost, and its value lies in how it is received. Vienna rebuilds. Walls are repaired. Streets are cleared. Graves are marked. Life resumes, altered but preserved. Survivors carry stories that will harden into legend and prayer. Children grow up knowing they live because others stood when collapse seemed certain. The church marks the moment not with conquest, but with remembrance. Feast days honor deliverance. The holy name of Mary is invoked with new resonance, tied forever to this narrow escape. Faith does not claim control over history. It recognizes intervention as gift, not entitlement. Kara Mustafa, disgraced, will pay for failure with his life. Sobieski returns to Poland burdened by politics and fading unity. Heroes disperse. Empires continue to rise and strain. Yet Vienna remains, standing as testament to endurance rewarded not by inevitability, but by convergence of courage, humility, and timing beyond human design. The siege becomes memory. The memory becomes meaning. Vienna 1683 endures not because it flatters pride, but because it humbles certainty. It reminds us how close civilization can come to silence, how fragile inheritance truly is. The city did not save itself, nor did any single king or army claim sole credit. Deliverance arrived through cooperation strained to its limits, through prayer whispered alongside steel, through endurance that refused despair long enough for help to arrive. This story does not promise that faith guarantees victory. It reveals instead that faith sustains courage when defeat seems inevitable. The defenders of Vienna prayed not knowing the outcome. The relief army advanced not assured of success. What they shared was fidelity, to duty, to conscience, to hope that history is not sealed against grace. For modern listeners, the walls of Vienna may feel distant, yet the siege remains familiar. We too face pressures that erode patience, threats that seem overwhelming, nights where endurance feels pointless. Vienna speaks into those moments quietly, without spectacle, reminding us that holding fast can matter more than winning quickly. The bells that rang again over Vienna did not announce the end of struggle. They announced survival, the gift of another chapter. That is often how grace appears, not as resolution, but as permission to continue. To remember Vienna rightly is to remember vigilance without fear, unity without illusion, faith without presumption. It is to understand that history turns not only on power, but on perseverance aligned with humility. And perhaps, in the stillness after our own battles, it invites us to pray as they did, not for certainty, but for courage enough to stand until dawn. Lord God of history and mercy, we place before you the fears, courage, and sacrifices of those who stood when hope seemed lost. Grant us steadfast hearts in times of trial, humble trust in your providence, and the grace to endure until your light breaks the night. Amen.